Well, here we are with the final stage of the Tour of Denmark, and it has finally happened. I have met a place name, and I tried, and I really tried, but I just cannot pronounce our Finnish town. It is too difficult. We start in Køge, and we finish on the outskirts of Copenhagen. It's the shortest of the five, 126 kilometers. We got 2 bonus sprints. We got 1 categorized climb, which is in itself a miracle that they managed to find a climb that would go for a hill. And then we have 5 local laps just on the east side. There you see it on the east side of the capital of Denmark. A short stage and an eager peloton. We've seen great racing all week, and today was no different. A really big fight going on for today's breakaway with one of our first attackers, Gustav Wang of the national team. And this is our break. It is a rather big one. We are still trying to get all the names on our sheet, but thankfully the graphics people have got it, and it is a big group. And because it's a big group, well, you can understand why the peloton, especially led by Visma and mostly by UnoX Mobility, will not grant this group a whole lot of time, because I think there's about 18 of them, and having 18 riders up front is never a good idea. These are recorded images of where we had the bonus sprint. There's not really a sprint going on. Theodor De Luca, who is the runner-up in the competition for the best young rider, is now in second position, but he's still 1 minute and 57 seconds behind Henrik Pedersen. It means that he will secure that second place if he finishes in the peloton, but that is very small earnings for Theodor De Luca from the Swedish Lucky Sport team. And on this final day of the Tour of Denmark, the peloton's by no means taking it easy. It's only a short stage of 126 kilometers. We started in a town called Køge, and then we have our finish in a town called, and yes, I finally found a place name I just cannot pronounce. I tried really, really hard, Michael, but it's something like Rødhøvre or something. I'm just going to say we're going to finish in a suburb to the east of Copenhagen. Are you okay with that? I've just met my match here.
But yes, it's a western suburb of Copenhagen. I must admit, as a bike rider, the first thing I noticed about it was that it's 20 minutes from the airport, which will please all the bike riders, because they can all be on an aeroplane by the time the podiums are finishing. And Ashlyn Barry from the break has front wheel puncture.
Yeah, we've got the help of the lovely Lucas Knöpfler, and he has a website called Cyclist Help, where he's got native speakers pronouncing all sorts of names of bike riders and of races and of stage names. And I went over it for at least 10 times, and I just cannot do it. The D in Danish, right, quite often is a silent D, and then also the V is a weird pronunciation, and then you've got the Ö, which is not a problem in itself, but the combination of it in just 7 letters is just pushed me to the edge of my capabilities, and over it, because I can't do it.
Well, I think we call it Copenhagen, which it kind of is. It's definitely sort of in the Copenhagen metropolitan area. Could we say that?
It's a lovely place, Copenhagen. Of course, we had the Tour de France start there a couple of years ago. Very well organized town. Fantastic to go about on your bike or just walking. It's rather small for a European capital, but it's really, really lovely, really clean. And I think we return to Copenhagen for the Worlds sometime soon.
I think that's right, yeah. No, I remember the Worlds there in 2011, which was the one that Mark Cavendish won.
Yep. And another second place for Marianne Vos. I think it was behind Giorgia Bronzini, her rival. Imagine that, that's 15 years ago, and Marianne Vos is still out there. And she's still one of the contestants for a stage win in the Tour de France Femmes, which starts after we conclude our broadcast here from Denmark. It's absolutely, the longevity of her career is mind-boggling.
Although we had Mark Cavendish still with us until a couple of years ago, 3 years
2 years
ago, last year, 2 years ago, I think. Yeah, it's two years ago. So yeah, same goes. Tony Martin won the men's time trial, and I can't remember who won the women's time trial, I'm afraid. So
I honestly don't know. We'll figure it out once we go. But yeah, a rather flat Worlds. Like next year, no, not next year. Next we have got one of the most mountainous World Championships we're ever going to have ever, and that is of course the Côte de Domancy, where we were with Bernard Hinault back in 85-ish. That was the year he won the Tour. I think it was the same year that we had the Worlds there. I think we're going well over 5,000 meters of elevation for the men's race next year in the Haute-Savoie. But then we go to Abu Dhabi, which is going to be rather flat, despite their threats, Michael, to build a hill, especially for a certain Tadej Pogačar. So, and also Belgium is anxiously awaiting the World Championships. They want to do it in 2031 because that is 200 years of Belgian independence, when they became independent from us, from the Netherlands. And France before that. It was only 15 years of the Netherlands, it was mainly France.
2029 we're back in Copenhagen for the Worlds, which I am looking forward to already.
It's going to be fast time trials.
It'll be fast time trials, it'll be flat. So that's going to be possibly two sprintery editions. Particularly, I mean, we've found some hilly stages. I mean, the Friday stage was very classic-y here, a couple of days ago. It was very classic-y in its feel and in the way it's ridden, and indeed in its results. But if we're right over here in Copenhagen, in Zealand, not a lot of hills. I mean, not to be rude about today's Category 2 climb, but it is 600 meters at 1%.
Yeah, that is terrible.
I once did a King of the Mountains preem where we were still going downhill at the 200 meter to go sign. It's going to be a little bit like that.
A lake and bird sanctuary, and actually the first things we see are some cows, but yeah, you can see from the helicopter shot there's still a fair bit of wind around. It's not as much as we had yesterday, but yeah, you give us the map, Michael. Are we still in for some crosswind chaos, or is it already done?
I think the crosswind chaos that was, whatever crosswind chaos there was going to be, I think has been and gone already. The first few kilometers of the stage was quite crosswindy and was a bit frantic. That big break eventually went and everything calmed down. We've been heading north, really across the flatlands of Zealand. You can see where we are now. But we are kind of now getting to the point where we're going to take a big swing round towards the right and head down towards Copenhagen. We have got 5 laps of 7 kilometers, so we're entering the circuit at rounding errors, but 38 kilometers to go, which in some ways isn't that far away. And then that's quite a short, punchy urban circuit. Lots of fairly big urban roads, right-angled corners. That's basically a big criterium. And I think we might see some quite fun racing on that. I think it could be quite vigorous, mainly about the stage today, because I think Wout van Aert's leading the GC by 21 seconds from Lucas Kubich, which means that Lucas Kubich cannot catch him on time bonuses. So Wout van Aert finishes in the group, he wins the GC. The points is also kind of decided. Lucas Kubich could catch him in theory, but not in practice, because he'd need to win an intermediate and he'd need to win the stage, which probably won't happen. So it's mainly about the stage today, but I think it might be quite good fun.
Yeah, we're running out of intermediates because the second one of the day is coming up right now. It was the aim of Visma Lease Bike to get Christophe Laporte onto the podium. Yesterday, Pedersen pipped him on the line for the bonus seconds, meaning that Hendrik Pedersen is currently third on GC, just a second ahead of Laporte. And that means that the only Pyrenee place left for Laporte to possibly get a place on the podium is on the finish line. One of the 6 that we have. Take your pick. This one's won by Niklas Larsson, ahead of our man from Sweden, Theodor De Luca. His name sounds very Italian, but he's most definitely Swedish. And one of the SWAT guys, they have got 3 of their riders up there. And for the first time invitee to this race, they have really shown their colours. And I think the organisers are very happy with the way that the SWAT club have spiced up the racing here.
Yeah,
sadly, no result for them whatsoever. No jersey or
no
one high up.
They've been so active. They've got Matthias Malmberg is the combativity prize here is. It's a replay of that. The combativity prize here is kind of odd because you get points each day. There were first, second, and third in the combativity prizes and the combativity classification, and then the whole thing is awarded as an overall. Matthias Malmberg is tied for first in the combativity classification, so he's from SWAT Club. So that's still an active classification for them.
Okay. Got a very quick glimpse there of the man in that green jersey, that polka dot jersey. Axel Scott Hansen is his name. Part of the team Giva Steel, so a good result for him there. He gets his trip to the podium because his gap on the competition is 16 points and we only have 6 points on offer, and they come, well, pretty soon from this point at 64.1 kilometers. I think riders might not even notice that it is a categorized climb with the stunning average gradient of 1%.
Well, around here, I mean, to be fair, I live in Cambridge in the east of England. It's not completely dissimilar. And it's surprising how, when you become really attuned to riding in a very flat course, how you do notice the gradients. But it's still
it's true.
A relatively apologetic King of the Mountain sprint.
I did 60k this morning with a staggering 22 meters of climbing, and I think I can pinpoint each and every one of those 22. A couple of bridges.
So. Yeah.
But yeah, that's this part of the world, and the same goes for Denmark. Although Denmark has got a little bit more elevation than most parts of the Netherlands, due to the fact that it was like a more active geological place in the ice ages. There's a few places in the Netherlands where you've got some elevation due to those big boulders, those big rocks that came rolling down south and kind of pushed up the landscape. A few parts in the province of Drenthe in the north. We've got the Bosbank, where we had the Giro a couple of years ago, and the mountains in Limburg all the way back in down south in the Netherlands. Those have nothing to do with ice ages. That is a whole different geological era. And those, of course, those are also the highest points of, like, mainland Europe. The highest point of the Kingdom of the Netherlands is actually on a Caribbean island.
I was aware of that. I was aware of that. No, Limburg's not flat, I'll tell you that. I've raced there, and I remember lots of sort of short, lumpy things that I did not care for one little bit.
Yeah, things like the Keutenberg, the Kouwberg.
You haven't lived until you've ridden really slowly up the Kouwberg while 15,000 drunk Dutch fans shout at you.
It's an experience to be had, Michael, I think.
It is. I recommend it to everybody.
Back to the bike racing. We don't have any representation of the UNOX Mobility team in that first group. We have got one rider for Visma Lease Bike, Ashlyn Berry. He did have that front wheel puncture. I do think he's back in the fold. And as you can see, they're not really given all that much of a lead. It's a minute. We just saw the team cars go past. But if the jury is going to follow protocol, they might already be called back since the gap is dropping below the minute mark.
Well, and there's quite a lot of team cars, obviously, because I don't know how many different teams you've got on the break. 2, 3, 4. There's 7 or 8 teams in the break. Most of the teams have made it. So once you get to that point, of course, the convoy in front of the break starts to get quite close to the front of the bunch, which is a problem. There's also nobody in the break from Little Trek.
Yeah, we did see that one of their riders tried to bridge across, but unsuccessfully so.
Don't think he made it. Keep an eye the next time we see the break. The coverage this week, we've seen a lot more of the bunch than we have of the breaks. But I don't think there's a Little Trekker in there. And they've got Tim Teutenberg as a hot prospect for the finish today. I mean, he was reasonably consistent through the first couple of days, so they're not making a showing up front yet, but they'll be quite keen to get it back.
Here's Tibor Grosso. I'm not going to say he's got problems with his back today, but it's an issue that has really hampered him throughout the cyclocross season. So something that he needs to keep working on with physiotherapy, just like Mathieu van der Poel, by the way. You have to be constantly on top of it with your exercises, because it's such an important part of the cycling anatomy, isn't it, that lower back?
Yeah, and it's under a lot of strain because it's it's part of the sort of propulsive mechanics, but it's also the angles you're sitting at. It's part of the suspension, if you like. No, if you have a sore back, cycling becomes a very difficult sport. If you're a young rider with back issues, it's something you absolutely have to stay on top of.
Here we're back with our breakaway. Got a few riders there for the Danish national team. Also here is Tyler Stites for the Modern Adventure Pro Cycling team, the American rider. But 55 seconds with 75 kilometers to go. It's not looking very promising for these guys up front. We're still kind of counting them, aren't we, Michael? I think we have about 16. 16?
I've got to 16. Maybe you can count better than I can. Hey, horses and flags. Small horses with flags.
The small horse is quite often called a pony.
No, I'm going to stick with small horse.
You've got small horses that are actually smaller than the average pony, but these were ponies. Well, if you're in the market for a new car, on the left-hand side of the road, Rasmus Tiller doing the work here for UnoX Mobility. Yeah, let's see who they are going to play in the sprint today.
Yeah, I was just actually thinking Tibor Del Grosso has not been sighted on the front of the break either. So I think Alpecin Premier Tech almost certainly looking towards Jensen Plowright, because they'd love to get a win for Jensen Plowright after stage 2, when he won and then lost when they looked at the
Yeah, we have to go back to yesterday. Yeah, on stage 2 he was announced the winner, and then he was not. I think they quite confidently called him the winner, while based on what we saw on the photo finish, it was absolutely not that clear. Yesterday, I saw some comments, Michael, that our winner yesterday, Storm Ingebrigtsen, did get a little bit of motor pacing there in the final. What's your opinion on that?
It didn't seem terribly, it doesn't make a huge issue to me. It's almost impossible, actually. If we want to cover the races, it's nearly impossible not to do that without there being motos in and around the groups and the breaks. It can be really difficult. Crucially, I think Storm Ingebrigtsen, I think he was going to win it anyway. He had quite a decent
15
margin.
seconds.
Yeah, I don't think it made that much difference. We saw Unibet a moment ago, waving the motos on down the road, because of course they've got who was it? Who have they got? Have they got somebody in the
Nicolas
break?
Larsen.
Yes, Nicolas Larsen's in the break. So they're quite happy with the break to stay away. They're currently sitting on 3 riders in the top 10, which is pretty good going, because they've got both Kopeski's brothers and Lucas Kubish, so they're sitting in 7th, 9th and 2nd. So, yeah.
The points discussion for Unibet Rose Rockets last year was much more important than it is this year. I think in the first 4 months of the season they got the same total as they got throughout the entire 25 season, especially a World Tour win with Dylan Groenewegen in one of the Belgian classics in the Panne. Of course, that's or whatever it's called now. That is a huge win. That is 250 points, something like that. So they're well inside the top 30 that you would need of the UCI teams ranking to be even eligible for that wild card. We discussed it yesterday. Of course, they went to the Giro and it was great fun, but they want the big one next year, and that is, of course, that Tour de France invite.
100%. Well, it's anybody running a pro team. That's what they want. Anyone who starts a pro team, any bike sponsor, a sponsor that comes on board with any random team will start talking about the Tour, because it's where all roads lead if you're a successful team.
We see quite a lot of riders in this peloton with bandages. Sadly, there have been quite a lot of crashes. Current situation in the race, about 70 kilometers to go. We have a large breakaway with 2 riders of the Danish national team, 3 riders even of the SWAT club. And then Thibaut Grosso is out there. Irishman Dylan Corkery in that first group. Taminiau of Lotto. Ashlyn Berry, one of the teammates of Visma Lease Bike. Zoccarato, Tyler Stites, Lambrecht, Larsen, Mengel, Sander Hansen, De Luca, Pedersen, Wang, Andersen, Carollo and Malmberg. And here we are with Mats Andersen. I don't see, unlike yesterday, I don't see any way that this group is even going to make it. All the more so after yesterday. It very rarely happens 2 days in a row.
Although it's exactly the kind of urban circuit that the peloton does get it wrong.
We do have a little track up front. There we went through our screen, and that is Jakob Söderqvist.
Right, he's probably not your man for the sprint if it comes down to it, but a handy man to have in the break. He was second in this race last year, where he won the time trial last year.
Yeah, he missed the time trial this year.
He missed the time trial. He had a bad day on the first day, and that was the end. But I'm sure he came in hoping to build on that, because I mean he's just across the Baltic. He's from Sweden, so it's as local a race really as he's going to get. So I'm sure that was a disappointment to him.
Still a very young rider, of course, Jakob Söderqvist. Technically in the under-23 ranks last year, because he became the time trial champion in Rwanda. And he's been racing with the Little Track main team for 2 seasons. Even 2 years ago, I remember one of the early French races that he was racing with Mess Pedersen and also being the runner-up in GC. But last year they just didn't have a place available anymore in the Little Track World Tour team, so they kept him on the development squad, probably on a World Tour salary. And got him to these kind of races. If you are on the development team of a World Tour team, you can always help out with the World Tour team, unless it's a World Tour race. Like, for example, tomorrow, Carlton and Brian are going to guide you through the Tour of Poland. A development team rider cannot join the main squad in the Tour of Poland since it's a World Tour team. But all other races you can, and that's what they did quite a lot with Jakob Söderqvist last year.
Yeah, you just end up with 40 riders in your team rather than the 30 that is the maximum for World Tour team. Jakob Söderqvist, he won the Tour of Hungary back in May, which didn't have a time trial in it, so he doesn't absolutely need a time trial. He got in the break on the penultimate stage there, and then kind of took 2 kilometers solo, but he still won it by a pretty solid 30 seconds, which is how he came to win the GC there.
Yeah,
but he's another rider who can do the kind of thing we saw Storm Ingebrigtsen do yesterday, the last few kilometers solo flyer.
I remember that Tour of Hungary that Benoit Cosnefroy was looking pretty solid for the overall win, until they very, very last minute decided to cut 2 or 3 local laps, and all of a sudden the break was up the road and Söderqvist won the stage.
Yep.
And they didn't have any time left to correct that situation, because the race was all of a sudden shortened to a few laps shorter. But still, nobody remembers next year.
We were riding up what looked like a hill for a second there.
Yeah,
it's gone again. It's okay. Don't worry.
Well, the hill is somewhere just past the horizon, maybe.
It's just in front of us. Yeah, you can see it.
You cannot. Our friends at Pro Cycling Stats, they have the hill as being 1.7 kilometers long at 0.4% average. I'm sorry, but that doesn't qualify as a hill. That is just looking for hills where they are not.
They could have made an intermediate sprint, because they've only got 2 on this stage. You can't have enough intermediates. The intermediate sprints can't be so numerous that the time bonuses there outnumber the time bonus on the line. But I think they've only got 2, so they could have had an extra one.
Yeah, and that would have added some extra spice, especially on the local lap. If you do one with like 3 laps to go, we could have a sprint between Laporte and Pedersen for that final podium place. And also, if you look at the GC, if you could potentially get yourself into the top 10 of the GC. If you get yourself like 3 seconds, like, no, not 3, sadly, for our friend of UnoX Mobility, he's 6 seconds down. Scrap that. So
many right-angled corners, and you can sort of see across the fields. And I love that view, and I just love it when I was racing, just being able to see what's happening at the front of the race. You just look across the right angle, because they'll be able to see the break in front of them across there. Maybe one of the reasons that they're kind of keeping it under control is their constant reminder that they're out there and how far away they are. Very much UnoX's responsibility to keep this under control, but they're not getting an awful lot of daylight.
Everybody in sheer anticipation of our hill sprint. It was nice for UnoX yesterday to get a stage win in one of their home countries. It is a team that's got roots in both Denmark and in Norway, and that is also where you find the UnoX gas stations, petrol stations, service stations. They do far more than just fossil fuels. They have very large electrical vehicle charging stations right now, but only in Denmark and Norway, and that's why they only have Danish and Norwegian riders. They haven't left that idea just yet. I remember from a couple of years ago with Euskaltel Euskadi, also in their pursuit of points, they got riders from all over the place, like a Greek rider, Tamourides. They got riders from the Asia circuit, all sorts of riders who brought points to the table were invited to the Euskaltel. But up until then, it was either you were Basque or you had your entire like formation period, like Sami Sanchez, in the Basque like circuit. But non-Basques were not welcome on the team, and sometimes there are rumours that UnoX is going to leave that formula, but I think why should you?
I'm genuinely impressed how long they've stuck with that, because you very regularly get teams formed that have a very prominently promoted national flavour to them, and almost invariably 3 or 4 seasons down the line, exactly looking for the right rider to get the points and the right result, or to get into the particular race, to try to get a wild card for the Tour de France. It ends up being eroded, and I admire UnoX for they're sticking with that formula. Mind you, they've got so many riders to choose from. There's so many Danish and Norwegian riders around these days.
Of course, there will always be rumours once Jonas Vingegaard's contract is up, whether he's going to move over to Visma, especially in the entire discussion around where is Paul Zigsas going. Apparently, it has ramifications across many teams, because if you have Paul Zigsas, it means that you have to change your entire team. Decathlon are already starting with that, getting some climbing domestiques in. I think Ben O'Connor is going there to help out. But yeah, that's going to be one of these stories for the next months, well, going into 2027. And then even officially, Michael, we can only announce where Paul Zigsas is going exactly 1 year from now, when the transfer window in 2027 opens. Unless, of course, Decathlon, CMA CGM managed to keep him on board, and then they can announce it whenever they want.
Yeah, I was reading on the Wielerflits website this morning about the letter of intent that supposedly Paul Sexas signed last year with UAE, and they were speculating that he might actually struggle to get out of that. Their feelings seemed to be very much that he was going to end up at UAE. The question then is what happens to Isaac Del Toro, because I think if Paul Sexas went to UAE, they really don't need Isaac Del Toro as well, so he would be off somewhere. And I think his contract is not
2029
really for. I think, yeah, but I suspect
28.
he's not getting paid enough.
No.
If he's on the original contract, considering what he's done in the last couple of years.
Look, elevation.
Yep, it's a hill.
This is it. It's happening.
Look at the clouds around the top of it.
I hope they put safety netting up there.
There we are. It's under
That
that tree. Brilliant. Enjoyed that.
Spectacular.
There was a tree in the way, so I didn't even see who won it.
I think it was 152. Marcus Sander Hansen.
Oh, congratulations to him.
And it was not, because there was another rider obscured by the tree, Leonard Tamino. Well,
we're on the
good luck to
descent
him.
here.
Get onto the big ring and get aero, because we're going fast. But yeah, imagine having the numbers 1, 3 and 4 of the Tour de France on the same team. That would just be absolutely ridiculous and totally unnecessary. And also for the development of both Sexas and Del Toro. Of course, this year it was the first time for Del Toro, and like he was like a young Padawan to Tadej Pogacar. But there comes a time, and it might already be next year after very successful Giro and Tour de France now, that just he needs to be a team captain in his own right again, instead of just being a secondary to Pogacar. Also for his own development, it would be a very, very bad idea to have all 3 of them on the same squad.
I agree.
But I think everybody agrees. Maybe not the bank account of Paul Sexas, but
it's not just about the. It's not just about the short-term next couple of years of racing. I think it makes a difference further down the line than that. And cycling always has tended a bit, particularly the Grand Tours, tended a bit towards monopoly. There's always a big 1 or 2 teams who manage to attract the talent and the sponsors and have the money. But the tides do change. It's not that long ago that it was, Team Sky were completely dominating everything. And Netcompany, Ineos Tour this year had a very average ride around France. So it does change, but it's nice if you don't have that sort of monopoly, if you can avoid having that in the first place, it's better for the sport.
look how incredibly tidy this cemetery is. I really love cemeteries. There's more people who love visiting cemeteries abroad. One of the best cemeteries I ever went to was just outside of Bilbao, and it's just underneath the final glide slope to the airport. So you're on the cemetery and you can almost touch the planes overhead. It's a very weird place. Of course, Père Lachaise is phenomenal, but yeah, just going to the odd cemetery. There's probably people out there who do that as well. But yeah, that was a lovely small one. Those are actually too small, Michael, if you want any advice on cemetery visiting, which of course you do. If you go to a very small local cemetery, you stick out like a sore thumb, because it's pretty clear that you're not there to visit somebody. Always look for the bigger ones and blend in. My friends, they always send me pictures of cemeteries and churches from wherever they are on holiday. It's a bit of fun.
One of the things we spend a lot of time looking on any of the helicopter coverage of races is churches. It seems to be one of the sort of the standard issue instructions for the camera operators is to pick out churches. Bit of a split back in the group here, slightly. It sort of shows that the pace is on. The group in front is riding hard, and they're being chased pretty hard.
But they just got dropped on the climb.
That's it. Yeah, somebody let the wheel go, and that was that.
Aisling Barry is back doing his duty in this group after that puncture that he had, so no longer in that breakaway. So both UNO-X and Visma Lease a Bike have no representation up front anymore. as far as I'm aware. I don't see any yellow jerseys anymore. Yeah, partially yellow. That is, of course, Michiel Lambrecht of the Flanders Baloise team. SWAT Club, 4 riders up front, Michael. 4. With Andersen, Carollo, Malmberg and Oyoli.
Carollo, of course, was in the break yesterday. Malmberg was in the break day 1, I think.
Yep, twice.
Of course, yes, we had the second one. It's another right-angled bend.
And a crowd. You can also see here, there's a lot of bike path here in Denmark. It's they have fantastic cycling infrastructure, not only in Copenhagen where we're going right now, but also in the countryside. And I notice riding around there that most drivers are very friendly and very patient with people on bikes, not only a road bike, not only if you are on like doing it for sports, but also if you're there with your kids. It's a very bike-friendly country.
Currently just passing through a village that you won't be able to pronounce either, but it's called, it's something like Smurv. Because my go at it.
Very helpful.
If anybody wants to get on Blue Sky and tell me how badly I missed, do please feel free. But that's why we got the crowds out, because we're just going through the fringes of the village.
The great thing about
Sunday, so it's on fete. It's lovely.
The great thing about Danish is that, me being Dutch and knowing German as well, because I basically grew up on the German border, there's a little bit of action going on here and here in this paddock. I can read Danish pretty well, but their pronunciation is quite often so different from what they write down in actual letters on paper that I'm quite often at a complete loss.
Yeah, well, it's also, my friend Jan tells me, my problem with trying to say Danish is because I've not grown up with the sounds. I just haven't developed the muscles to make the noise. So
I think that's it.
Yeah, he tried to teach me how to pronounce Anders Folliger's name. And they eventually said, you're just not going to get it because you haven't got you can't make, because he would sort of make 2 or 3 noises that he had maintained were different. And it all sounded the same to me, because you just don't grow up. That's one of the fascinating things about language.
And that's the great thing. If Danes speak English, you will always hear it. You can pretty well identify a Danish speaker in English. It's a great language. It's a great country, but it's a pretty hard language at the same time.
Until we get a World Tour of Finland, probably it's going to be the most difficult race to pronounce.
Well, Hungary is Hungary.
And Poland's not easy either, actually, so maybe I should...
And Tour of Hungary is also a challenge.
Yes. That is fabulously neat.
Yeah, they sweeped it, especially.
Yeah. It looks like they re-poured the concrete fresh.
Yeah, this morning on my True Crime podcast, I had somebody poured in concrete. I hope they didn't do that there. That we'd be witnessing a crime.
It is almost as neat as Switzerland, and I can't speak more highly than that.
I think they got horses. I think there's stables here. Must be. Anyways, we are gradually moving in a easterly direction.
We're going north really at the minute, but we're about to sort of swing a little bit towards the east. We've come quite a long way east. We're not really that far from, in some respects, that far from where we're going in terms of the circuit. There's a few zigzags and things before we get there, but we're not that far away. Sorry, we're heading south, not north. What am I talking about? We're heading south, and then we're going to head east again. I think we're through any of the crosswind sections, so I don't think that's going to be an influence from here on in. And actually, you know, looking at the flags by the course, there's not that much breeze.
And of course,
and it's a little more sheltered.
And of course, we're getting ever closer to the city with all the infrastructure there, making echelons very unlikely.
Yeah, we're less than 20 kilometers from the circuit now.
The first time we are going to cross the finish line will be at 35.7 kilometers. And we're going to enter the circuit just 3 kilometers before that. Both our breakaway and our chasing peloton, they are by no means taking it easy here on their Sunday ride. Look at the way the peloton is completely stretched out. We've got the Unibet Rose Rockets nicely grouped around Lukas Kubis. Is today going to be the day? I'm afraid not, but we can always hope. I think the fastest man out there is somebody like Teutenberg. Van Uden, we haven't seen anything
haven't seen
from him.
Hide nor hairy of him. He was part of the transfer news yesterday as well, wasn't he?
He was. He's going to Alpecin Premier Tech.
Because they don't have enough sprinters.
Joined the club. The only thing that they're actually missing is somebody doing GCs in like week-long stage races with climbs. Although somebody like Emil Verstringen and Rasmus de Bruyne in the Tour before he had to abandon, they do kind of show the capabilities of doing that in the future. But of course, it's a team that's quite heavy on the sprinter classics guys side.
Oh,
and that's fine.
They're all about the spring, as far as I'm concerned. Not quite all about the spring, but that's when I look to kind of Alpecin Premier Tech as sort of maybe maybe even the biggest team in the world for that couple of months. But Casper Van Uden has been invisible. It has to be said this week, unfortunately.
Well, maybe today's going to be the day that he's going to get into the limelight.
He was 14th on stage 1.
Yeah.
So it's not terrible, but no, he hasn't really been up there this week. It should be nice to see. Tim Teutenberg, on the other hand, has been, because he 4th and 5th in the first 2 stages. Came through for 13th in the bunch yesterday, which actually was not bad in the bunch sprint. So, yeah. And I haven't mentioned Tom Krabbe, who has been... We've talked about him for the sprints this week, and he just
even more absent than Van Uden.
Yeah, he just hasn't been there. It's such a good kind of early season start to the season, and has almost disappeared.
Yeah, when he had won those 5 stages, there were basically ridiculous amount, like annual salary numbers going around in the Belgian press around the 2 million mark offered by Pinarello. They announced one of their riders, but if I'm to go by the rumours, and of course I'm still following the team I worked for last year closely, they should be assigning at least 20 new riders. Because almost half of the transfer rumours is around Pinarello.
Yeah, well, they're alleged to have an awful lot of money and be very willing to spend it. So if anyone's unsure, Pinarello always seems like a good bet, and they probably have talked to a lot of riders. So,
of course. But not everybody wants to be in that on the team and be a domestique to Pidcock. Here we go, back to our breakaway of roughly 20 riders. Hopefully they'll give you the graphics on your screen again, because there are quite a few riders to name. Of course, I'd love to do that, but it's much easier if you could just read them. So, Mr. TV Director, or Mrs. TV Director, just give us the caption. No, sadly.
Lots of SWAT Club, as we were saying. Thibaut Del Grosso still, I think, has not been rash enough to make an appearance at the front of that race. I haven't seen him at the front of the break anyway. He certainly seemed to be sitting at the back. Had a slightly disappointing week again. A rider coming in that I thought was maybe going to be a big challenge to Wout van Aert, but currently sitting 4th on the GC. I don't know if he has any best stage result. I think it was only kind of a 44th, 50th, something like that. So he's had a quiet week. Been a bit overshadowed by Jensen Plowright, which I, for one, didn't expect.
Wasn't Jensen Plowright linked to another team as one of the riders leaving Alpecin?
you have intelligence that I don't have on that one. Then. And there's so many rumours around. 1st, 2nd of August every year, it always goes bananas, and it's so hard to keep track of who's going where. Arnaud De Lee, I think, is off to Tudor. Have I got that right? Or alleged to be off to Tudor.
Arnaud De Lee, yes.
Arnaud De Lee, yeah, he's going to Tudor.
Is he now making? No, he's not making his way. He's at the back of the peloton. The man who was in our breakaway, Ashlyn Berry. Oh, ooh. Crash.
One of the Policy Visit Malta riders went down. Didn't see who it was.
I think it was number 7, Raccagni. Very quick glimpse there, but hopefully he's okay. Team car on the scene, doctor on the scene straight away. New bike at the ready. Oof, oh, that hit on the head, that was nasty.
Yeah, just clearly edged off the right-hand side of the road as the bunch swept onto that right-hander. Just ran out of space. Must have been a little bit of a gully on the right-hand side of the road. Maybe he looked and thought he could just ride over the verge, rode into it, and discovered there was a hole there. They, of course, have got Francisco Munoz in 8th position, 1 minute down in the GC. They've got the rider in the top 10.
Yep, thanks to his ride on Friday in stage 3, when he was part of that first group.
The other interesting outlier in GC is Andreas Stockborough, who we've seen in the breaks. Really, I think going for the King of the Mountains points, but he's ended up 12th on GC, minute 24 down, riding for the relatively small Colour Quick team. And that would be a useful result from them in terms of scooping up a few points. If he could even maybe kind of pinch himself a bonus on the line, maybe that's asking a little bit much. He could make the top 10.
Why are we angry here?
We're angry because he wants to be on the left-hand side. There's wind from the right, so he wants to be on the left-hand side of the group. Who's getting pushed off by the motor.
Got it.
So he was being forced into the wind by the TV motor. I mean, it seemed a little bit shouty, but you know, it's Mads Andersen. It's a Sunday in Denmark. We're supposed to be having fun.
Of course, on the stage on Thursday, we had all the confusion between Wout van Aert and Jensen Plowright. All the riders here, they have a transponder chip on their bike, and when you cross the finish line, automatically it registers as having crossed the finish line, and a result comes up to your screen. During the Tour de France, that Tissot, for example. But you always have to verify it with a video camera, because your transponder chip might be like 2 millimeters back on the bike due to the geometry of your bike than that of your colleague, and that's exactly the case with the Plowright and Wout van Aert issue. And yeah, the video finish was, well, it was not very obvious, but it was still a millimeter or 2 for Wout van Aert. So I think if we go back to Thursday, it was just a big mess up by the organisers, announcing the winner so fast, going off the transponder data.
And Jensen Plowright, he thought he'd won. Wout van Aert accepted that he'd won. The Jensen Plowright had won, so I think they just kind of accepted that before they went back and checked. Great trick you can do with your transponder positioning for a time trial is put it as far back on the bike as you can then let you get off with, because then it trips, because your starting time is tripped by the transponder, but the finish time is usually just tripped by a sensor on the line.
You get
so if you put it at the back of your bike, you get an extra bike length.
Nice.
Or maybe half a bike length if you put it as far back as you can. So anybody riding a UCI time trial who wants a sneaky stunt, there you are, try that.
And now you get a phone call from Aigle in Switzerland tomorrow, Michael, for giving this advice.
The 2 guys turn up on your doorstep in suits and say, come with us.
Or send you a very angry...
They take you to the secret mountain hideaway of the UCI.
Well, it is not very secret. It's actually where the Tour de France Femmes starts today. So
that's just the one you know about.
Ah.
There's the work camp for people who have displeased the organisation.
It's like a James Bond kind of lair somewhere high up in the Swiss mountains.
Yeah, that's very much what James Bond is based on.
Do they have like do they also have probably one person with an eye patch and a bionic hand or something like that.
And sharks with lasers, yes, exactly.
The funny thing about Thursday was that Wout van Aert said in front of the cameras that this is a first. Van Aert smiled in front of the cameras. I felt that Jensen passed me, but you can't really know on the moment itself. And then I'm going back to this is a first for Van Aert. Well, it is not really, is it?
Shall we talk about Tom Pidcock and Amstel Gold?
No, don't. Tom won't like us for it. But it's funny that Wout van Aert said this is the first time this is happening to me. Like, well, not really.
Not really.
Not really. And 2 times in his favour, although this one was pretty clear. For the Amstel Gold Race one, I think the judges are still out.
I still think that Amstel Gold was a tie.
Yeah, they should have been on the podium together.
I think there comes a point, there should be a limit, like maybe 30 seconds. If you're still looking at the photo finish image after 30 seconds and you can't decide, it's a tie. There was a tied race in Croatia earlier this year, wasn't there? I've forgotten the name of it. They did, for once in their lives, look at the photo finish image and decide they couldn't separate them, so there was a tie. I've forgotten the name of the race, I'm afraid.
Luckily for Tom, 3 years after this Amstel Gold Race thingy in 21, he went back to win it. But he could have won 2, or maybe he has won 2. Well, that's water under the bridge now. It is equipment can be faulty. Organisers can make mistakes, and having 6 finish lines on our camera shot is also very unhelpful.
The UMAG Classic in Croatia was a tie. This year, back in March, between Adam Baradak and Dusan Rajovic.
Nice. Pretty busy times when it comes to bike racing here for you. Of course, this is our final stage of the Tour of Denmark, but we continue straight away with stage 2 of the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift yesterday. Well, if you haven't watched it, it was a nice win and a first yellow jersey. Tomorrow we continue with the Tour of Poland, or as they would like to call it themselves, the Tour de Pologne, with Carlton and with Brian. We also have the Tour of Portugal from the 5th of August, and that will be with Michael and with Jez. So lots of bike racing coming up next week for you to enjoy here. There isn't a day without a bike race on.
And the Tour of Portugal is 10 stages plus a prologue. I think it's the longest non-Grand Tour stage race in the calendar.
It's the 4th Grand Tour. They would like to call it La Classicissima, like the 4th Grand Tour.
That's a really fascinating race because the Portuguese sort of scene is such an ecosystem to itself. There's lots of Portuguese riders and Portuguese pro teams that quite often never race outside Portugal. So it's a really interesting insight to that race. This is
so it would be nice to.
You can say this is someone who couldn't make up their mind whether they were building an Olympic swimming pool or a water park. So they built both.
I must say that the pool where I used to do my laps before we moved was also open for the kiddies, and then they would just get the lanes out and put these inflatable thingies in. So dual purpose pool. It's still a minute as we are getting ever closer to our finish line just outside of Copenhagen. Thanks for everybody sending me pronunciation advice on our finish town. I have really tried to look at the cyclist help, and Brian has sent me some tips as well. But just like you said, Michael, sometimes you just don't have the anatomy to do it, and that is with me and the Danish language. I think that is impossible.
You finally hit your limit.
I think so.
Anders Folliger, who would be an outsider for today, would you say? Maybe crashed. Couple has crashed on the Queen stage on Friday in the rain, but he'll have been possibly a bit disappointed with his race so far because he kind of came in as the strong Danish national squad, of which he I would imagine is the leader. Looking at who's there, they're kind of listed in, I was going to say it's alphabetical order. Yes, it is alphabetical order rather than an obvious one Dossard team leader, but I think Anders Folliger would have been the leader of that team and maybe feels he's underperformed slightly. More hills. Looks a bit like one of those man-made mountains you have in the Netherlands.
I'm trying to Google it, but I can't find it because the word is almost identical to Hersteld Hervormde Kerk, which is the Dutch Reformed Church in Dutch. And that's the only results that come up on Google. Do you mean this? Well, no, I do not, but they don't give me any other suggestions. So it might be one of those like man-made rubbish tips that we have up in the north of the Netherlands.
It's what it looks like, yeah.
It might be a Viking burial mount, for all we know. I don't know.
Just looking at the tail end of the break there, the pace is on in that break. There's riders having to work quite hard to hang on to the back of it coming back from doing a turn. So going quite quickly. Average speed today is over 50 kilometers an hour so far.
Yeah, you can see. And that means that we will have reached the finish nicely in time to wrap the Tour of Denmark up and move over to Switzerland for the Tour de France Femmes avec
Absolutely.
Swift.
Yeah, we're onto the finishing circuit in 4.3 kilometers, in fact, to be precise. We have count them, 5 laps of the finishing circuit today. It's only 7 kilometers long, so a slightly criterium-esque feel to it. Very urban feeling circuit. You know, lots of big roads, lots of right angle corners, probably a fair bit of street furniture about. We've got a dead turn, precisely how dead we will see when we get there. And that comes not long after the finish line. Decent kind of clear run into the finish. We get several looks at it before we get there. There's a 90-degree turn at 1.25 kilometers, and that's really the only feature in the final of the race. Then it's very straight and very flat. Crosswindy, I think, onto the finish, although I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of wind. I don't think that's going to be anything terribly decisive. Interesting to see when this break gets reeled in, because they've been kept very short. It's barely ever gone above a minute. And as we get to the finishing circuit, this group will be very keen not to repeat the mistake of yesterday, or indeed to repeat the almost mistake at Copenhagen Sprint, where they caught the break with about 500 meters to go. And Rune Herregaards, who'd been in the break, hung on to, I think, 9th place in the end in the final. Shows how late they caught them. So quite keen not to do that again. I think they'll want to get the catch in early and get themselves organised.
The new Belgian national champion, Rune Herregaards. I think he's going to make. I think he's going to debut that jersey tomorrow, if I recall correctly. Yes. And of course, well, they already have previous experience at UAE Emirates with a Belgian national champion's jersey, so they can just ship Tim Wellens' stock to Rune Herregaards.
Did I hear a rumour Rune Herregaards was leaving the team?
Well, he's end of contract this year.
I heard the suggestion he was off. We will see. Mind you, you could make up a rumour about any rider leaving any team, really. I should get a bit ahead of myself. I kind of read some of the rumour-based Substacks, even the reliable ones, and there's so many shifts and moves listed that it starts to be a bit of an idiot's game trying to keep on top of them all.
Many years ago, when I came into this business and I was still writing for some online publications, I was actually tricked into publishing a rumour by a team manager to kind of just push the prize.
Now there are one or two team managers who will do. I'm naming no names. One or two team managers who. Well, what they quite often do is they nurture a journalist too often. I don't know how senior you were at that point. They often nurture kind of a mid-ranking journalist and feed them a few good stories, just to get them softened up for something that they really want to get placed in the press. Any of our colleagues will know exactly the 2 or 3 team managers I think I'm thinking of when I say that. But
yes, because if you just feed the sharks on managers just want a bidding frenzy over a certain rider, and if team managers hear that, oh wow, he's also like another team is interested, we might have to offer 1 or 2 or 300,000 euros more. Yeah, so I'm not ashamed to tell, I learned from that, but it does happen. And some journalists are very close to certain team managers and always have the right gossip. Some are, just like you said, very reliable, but yeah, sometimes you get tricked into publishing something, and yeah, fell right into that trap that they set for you.
Lovely view of a slightly overcast Copenhagen. Beautiful city in the summer, and the sun's out. You can kind of go swimming around the port areas. Just lovely.
I'll go to the Tivoli Park.
Yeah, the Copenhagen Sprint Intermediate sprints competition.
Oh yeah, you did 6 hours of Copenhagen sprint
I did
coverage.
six hours of that with Carlton, but the prize for the intermediate sprint competition was a holiday for 2 at the Tivoli Gardens. You got like two nights in the hotel, and I can't remember, you got a food voucher for something sort of slightly unambitious, like 25 euros.
which in Denmark just basically does not really buy you all that much. They don't use euros in Denmark, but it's a pretty expensive town, Copenhagen is.
It is. No, I spent a very happy week here for the Worlds in 2011. I wasn't riding. I was helping 1 or 2 riders and actually doing some commentary for Eurosport, as it would have been back in those days.
So long ago, I wasn't even commentating bike races.
42 seconds, so we've just about got the first group onto the circuit, and a good chance that gap's going to start coming down.
But you wondered who the winner was of the women's individual time trial. That was German rider Judith Arndt, beating Linda Willemsen, and Emma Pooley took the bronze for Great Britain. Arnaud Desmar was the under-23 world champion. He was around until quite recently. We didn't have, of course, women's under-23, but Lucy van der Haart, one of her 2 junior women's titles. She's got 2 of them, and one of them she took in Copenhagen. Of course, called Lucy Garner back then. She's now married to former cyclocross rider Lars van der Haart, who also happens to be a rider's manager right now in his new role, and father of 2, and Lucy, of course, mother of 2. It's always interesting to look through the results. For example, 3rd in the women's race behind Bronzini and Vos was Ina Joko Teutenberg, and she is the aunt of Tim.
Of course, yeah. It's always, and one of my, I mean, I think I'm doing some commentary at the World's Time Trials this year, and one of the things I always am interested to look at is the Junior World Championship Time Trial results, because it's a much more reliable place for finding future stars than the road race, just because of the more predictable nature of it. Always, I think we already know who's going to
win that. That's going to be that British kid.
Fair chance.
For the love of me, I can't remember his name, but I think he is kind of unbeatable at the moment in a junior time trial circuit. I'll be covering that race, by the way, so I might meet you there. Okay, we crossed the finish line for the first time with our breakaway of 20.
And that's how you spell the finishing time.
Well, good luck. I can spell it.
None of us can pronounce it.
But there's 7 letters in it, and you leave out 2 of them, and then you end up with something. The SWAT guys, all 4 of them, with Andersen and Malmberg, the 2 Danes, and then the 2 Italians, Carollo and Oioli, at the front of that peloton, of that first group, and Rasmus Tiller here at the front of the peloton.
Down to about 30 seconds. At some point, we're going to start seeing attacks out of that group in front. Not least of all, I'm thinking there's people like Matthias Malmberg, who is one of the most combative riders in the race so far, and there's a super combativity prize. The way you would break tie for super combativity prize is managing to get out of that group now and stay away for a lap or a lap and a half. So as that gap closes, we will probably see attack. So it's still actually out around 40 seconds. Maybe the moment hasn't quite arrived. We're going to come back down the other side of the road. There's a dead turn at the end of this straight, so the bunch is going to get to see the break come back past them on their left. So they'll get an idea of where they are.
And this is what they see. This is what we expected from a finish just outside of the capital of Denmark, just outside of Copenhagen. People have really come out in droves here. And as always, Danish fans are quite passionate. Well, we saw the Basque fans yesterday. They are next level. But the Danish fans are quite passionate. And they also know how to behave around a bike race. I don't think you will quite often see a Danish person cross the road between the first group and the peloton when the gap is 10 seconds.
No, we've all seen that. It's always a bit frightening.
41 seconds is the gap at the moment, with our man from Polti Visit Malta. And that is Mirko Maestri. Yeah, luckily Brian Smith is listening in, and indeed, Brian, I do mean Leon Atkins as one of the favourites for the junior time trial world title. The 17-year-old of the Camps-Mageco team, the team led by I think Tom Pidcock's dad, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah,
Giles. It's really odd actually in that dead turn. There's kind of a little traffic island at the top of it, and they haven't barriered the thing so that you've got to go around the end of it. You can kind of cut inside, or you can go around the outside. It's a little bit like an accident waiting to happen, because there's then obviously the curb from the little, it's like a dot on the eye of the main dual carriageway median.
And also these,
that's not a problem.
No, I hope so. And also these bottles kind of bouncing back from the curbstone there. That's also a little bit of a tricky situation. But this is our breakaway of 20 odd riders. I'll give you the names because we haven't seen a graphic on our screen for a while. This is Lambrecht, Michiel Lambrecht of Flanders Baloise. We also have Lidl Treks, Jakob Söderqvist, Alpecin Premitex, Tibor Del Grosso, Lotto's, Lionel Taminio, Picnic Postenel. I've got Dylan Corkery out there, Samuele Zoccorato of the MBH Bank team, Tyler Stites for Modern Adventure Pro Cycling, Filippo Rodolfo of the Novo Nordisk, Mirko Maestri of Polti Visit Malta, Nicolas Larsen of Unibet Rosa Rockets, Nikolai Mengel of the Airtox team, Marcus Sander Hansen of Bornholm, Leodor de Luca of Lucky Sports. Then the 4 riders for SWAT with Andersen, Carolo, Malmberg and Oyoli, Mes Lenbø of the Kodo Quick, and 2 riders of the national Danish team with Kasper Pedersen, normally part of Soudal Quickstep, and Gustav Wang, who normally races for XDS Astana. Those are the 20 riders up front. But yeah, but it's not easy. They, especially, well, Visma and UnoX, they really have to work hard to catch them.
Yeah, the race is on here.
Just like you said, 50k an hour average.
Considering the size of it, that group in front is riding pretty well together. And they are not proving straightforward to catch, because you can just look at the Visma string at the front of the main bunch. They're working really hard. In some ways, actually, they look like they're working harder than the break.
Which indeed, like you said, is remarkable for a breakaway of 20 to have such good cooperation in this point of the race.
No, it absolutely is. It's normally the point where you, besides of break, that you expect quite a few passengers, and I think there are 1 or 2, but I think most of the riders are coming through. Certainly the SWAT Club are pulling their weight.
Yeah, 20% of this breakaway is SWAT Club. They've got 4 riders here out of 20.
And Del Grosso through to the front, so I had been maligning him earlier about not doing a turn, but there he is.
This is Gustav Wang, and here is the peloton again. Visma, they've got 3 wins, of course, with the man in yellow. That is Wout van Aert, the leader in GC. He's got 21 seconds on Lukas Kubiš. Third on GC, there he is, the man in white with number 66, Henrik Pedersen. But Visma would really like the man in the green jersey there with 54 to take that final step up to the podium. That means that Christophe Laporte has to be at least third if we have a bunch kick, and Pedersen cannot be first or second.
Yeah, it's 10, 6 and 4 seconds on the line, as is fairly standard. So that's what they're looking towards. Storm Ingebrigtsen actually being yesterday's stage winner, being set to work on the front along with Jonas Hojdal.
Yeah, Jonas Hojdal, the Norwegian rider of Visma Lease Bike, has been doing an awful lot of work at the front of the peloton throughout this week. He's part of the Devo squad.
That's what Devo riders are for.
Yeah, and these kind of races.
Aisling Barry doing the same thing, so yeah.
Yes, the two of them. And these kind of races, they're not only to see if a rider is strong enough to be in your team, but the thing that they also look at if you get an invitation to ride with the World Tour team is whether you fit into the team as a character, whether you say thank you to a team mechanic, how you interact with your colleagues, if you don't make a mess out of the team bus, those kind of things, because they know your values, they know exactly the kind of physical data that you produce on the bike. It's more to kind of check, are you fitting in with the team, and are you going to be valuable to us as a team player?
Do you snore?
That can't be it now. That would be pure discrimination.
It's a metric I have heard discussed.
Really? Oh
yeah.
God.
You don't want a team full of snorers, or you can't work out the broom roster.
Here we have Filippo Rodolfo at the front of the Novo Nordisk team. Out of our breakaway, he is the third best ranked rider. The best ranked rider is actually Niklas Larsen, to 27 for the Danish Unibet Rosa Rockets rider.
Yeah, he's 15th on GC, but 227. He's aren't enough time bonuses available to really make much difference to him.
And as we cross the finish line again, we've done one of the 7.1 kilometer laps. The gap has become 6 seconds smaller than the previous time around. If they do it at this pace, they'll be 6 seconds short on the finish line. We're back here in the Tour of Denmark. We've got 4 more laps to go, meaning 28.5 kilometers in the town of, well, you can see it on the finish arch and give your own interpretation of how to pronounce it. It is not a suburb of Copenhagen. It's part of the metropolitan area, I've been taught, but it is in itself a separate municipality. Good luck with your pronunciation. I will leave it with you today. I tried. 39 seconds right now. What lap are we going to make the catch? The last one or the penultimate one? What's your guess?
I think it might be quite late, actually. It's quite a tight circuit. It doesn't look that terrifying on the map we saw at the beginning, but it's only 7 kilometers round. There are quite a lot of corners, quite a lot of road furniture. And we've seen time and time again on these kind of urban circuits how hard it can be to pull a brake back. It's not the same game as bowling along a big, wide open highway. There's just a lot of corners, a lot of stops, accelerations, and it does interfere with the chase. I think they are going to catch them. They're down to 34, 35 seconds. That tends to be the point where you think, well, they're kind of nearly in the gravity. They've nearly got them in their gravitational field. But it might be quite late. But, you know, almost as I say that, I'm just looking at a degree of organisation and of impetus going on here, so maybe not. Some of these straight roads, they're going to start being able to see them. Well, they can see them right there, and actually there are a few bits of daylight opening up in the break as well, which will do nothing but help probably.
There's only 2 teams with multiple riders in this first group. That is the Danish national team here with Gustav Wang, and a little bit further back Kasper Pedersen, and of course the SWAT club here in the blue, white and pink.
no team cars in behind the brake at all now. They were taken out when we came onto the circuit. You're only allowed one team car on the circuit, which has to be behind the main group. This is almost the longest, straightest piece of road in the circuit, so they can probably see them. But the gap, if that's to be believed, if the tickets to be believed, it's stretched back out to 42 seconds, so it's not a done deal yet.
See quite a few riders there with the bandages on either arm or legs, especially the first 3 stages we had well, the first and the third stage we had way too many crashes. Now it's up to Ashlyn Berry at the front with Nicolas Behrens behind him. Behrens, of course, a very, very strong rider. If I recall correctly, under 23 world champion, isn't he? Wasn't he? Big smile here on the face of this man. He might be a local, who knows? We've got 46 Danes here, so there's probably a few from the Copenhagen area.
Yeah, there are 1 or 2. I did make a note of 1 or 2. Casper Pedersen is local. Alexander Kamp is also local. I think either of them are in the break, but Alexander Kamp actually has shown well in the last day or 2 as well. Quite a few sort of late attacks and flourishes.
Yeah, they don't sport the sleeves with the former national champions, because Alexander Kamp is a former Danish national champion. For us as commentators, that can be very useful in identifying riders from a full frontal shot. But on this kit, they have decided not to do that.
And in fact, they've put a sort of a decoy pink band around it, so you keep looking at it and thinking, what is that, Danish, is that Norwegian, before realizing it's everybody has one. It's like the Skadi Euskaltel kit has the Italian national champions colours on the sleeve, just to confuse you. Could just confuse you.
Or Hungary, you could also, or Euskaltel, or well.
But it's the Basque colours is what it is.
Yeah, it is.
And on the technicality that it's not absolutely on the cuff of the jersey, it's sort of just up a little bit. But it is, yes, you keep looking at riders in orange kit thinking, when did he win the Italian national championships?
Well, they do have an Hungarian on the team of Euskaltel, so yeah, that adds to the confusion of this situation.
He's well camouflaged, I'll say that.
For now, the gap is most definitely not going down. It is actually stabilizing with 3 laps to go. 3.5 laps to go. This man is going full pogey here. Markus Sander Hansen. Oh, this is not good. There comes a certain point, Michael, that they need to start attacking from the break.
Yeah, no, that's coming. I thought we might be there by now, but they've still got, they're still at around 39, 40 seconds, and the gap's not tumbling. So for the minute, they're probably better working together. I think, looking at it, I think they might have shed 1 or 2. It didn't look to me like quite like a 20-rider group. So maybe 1 or 2 have dropped back. Lukas Kubish in his usual position,
wind again,
catching a bit of wind on the edge of the group. Trying to stay on the wheel of Wout van Aert. He's seen a great deal of Wout van Aert's back wheel in the last 4 days.
I thought you were going to say Wout van Aert's backside. That too, of course.
That too. And I'm sure it's an admirable backside. It seems to work.
It's a powerful behind, yes.
It is, yes.
But let's not go to this. Let's not discuss riders behind here. Me as a female commentator might get into trouble with that.
You don't win an awful lot of sprints without a bit of gloat.
It seems like UnoX are leaving the work for now to Visma Lease Bike, staying a little bit behind, not really rotating into this catching the brake situation. Same for Little Track. They also keep their powder dry for now. They still have a breakaway rider up front with Jakob Söderqvist. If he, well, maybe just like Ingebrigtsen yesterday, he can do a mean time trial effort of at least 10 kilometers.
Certainly. and Unibet Rosa Rockets they have been in attendance at the front with Lukas Kubic the entire stage, but haven't really done anything apart from shout at the TV motorbikes to get a bit further in front, because they're clearly very happy with Nicholas Larsson in the break. Potentially improving his GC position, I suppose, if the break stayed away. I don't know how Larsson would fare in the sprint from the group that came to him.
He's a trackie, of course. He's got a little bit of turn of speed, although he's a pursuiter. He's still part of the Danish team Pursuit. We've got a group of 6 riders there for the next Olympic cycle on our way to LA. And Nicholas Larsson is part of that group. There we...
most track endurance riders have got at least a bit of a sprint.
This is Jakob Söderqvist. Oh, that's a very short turn there for him. Now it's up to one of the SWAT Club riders again. And we are approaching the finish line. 300 meters to go. Ooh, there's a Faxe Kondi bottle there, which is of course nice sponsor placement, but also not ideal. I think it's rolling to the side right now.
Generally, those bottles you can ride over, they usually crunch rather than pop you off your bike, but it's not ideal.
These riders can. I would just be tumbling down, probably. Looks like we have maybe one new team at the front, NSN Pro Cycling. They have Riley Sheehan still up here. Great general classification result with Pierre-André Côté, the Canadian. But for now, they just leave the work to Visma Lease bike with Laporte in that green jersey and Van Aert in the blue jersey. And Van Aert, yeah, he mentioned that he would really like to help Laporte get a stage win and the necessary bonus seconds to end up on the overall stage with him. None of the riders up front, and, well, the gap is actually slightly going up again. It's stabilized for, well, basically since we crossed the finish line, this is stabilized for,
well, it's kind of it's stabilized since Uno X decided they were going to leave Visma Lease bike to do it. So Nick Schultz is up there now for NSN, but hasn't yet come through onto the front. But I don't have anyone in the break, so he's certainly been working for Riley Sheehan. There he comes onto the front now. They've only got 4 riders left in the race, and clearly with Riley Sheehan as protected rider, they haven't got a vast number of options.
You know, also showed up, Casper van Uden.
Wow.
He's up the front now with his teammates. Only 5 of the Picnic Postanella. One of them is in this group, the Irishman Dylan Corkery. He is still there, yeah, all the way at the back. Wave. NSN have reported for duty, like you said, Michael. Oh, that was a near miss there at the front.
I don't like it when I see riders travelling at 90 degrees to each other.
Collision course.
So far, that sort of I'm slightly surprised that they didn't actually have that barriered, but it doesn't seem to be causing any problems. And Nick Schultz on the front. I don't recognise, and surprisingly I don't recognise the Giva Steel rider who's sitting behind him, which is slightly unexpected team to be at the front.
They're down to 4. They're down to 4 riders.
So they've got Axel Scott Hansen, I suppose, who is the who's king of the mountains. So maybe they feel that they need to show themselves. Still hanging out around 30 seconds.
Do you give them any chance?
I would still say no.
You said no yesterday.
But I said yes and no and no and yes and yes and no yesterday. I never really made up my mind, if I'm honest. Every time we cut back to the group or the bunch, I decided it was going to go the other way. So you can't pin anything on me for yesterday because I never got off the fence.
You never committed.
No, I never did. Well, I did, just repeatedly in the opposite direction because I was convinced I was right every time. It's a mug's game. So there's so many moving parts in this. There's how's the break riding, there's how's the group riding, is how are all the individual riders feeling, is somebody managing to get up and spoil the chase. It's so hard to pick it, but at 34 seconds and 18 kilometres, you'd have to say that the bunch should have this.
But it's still the same two Visma Lease bike riders versus 20 riders up front.
Yeah.
And no, not all 20 riders are committing to the course at the moment.
Most of them still are, and no one's attacked from that group yet. We're getting into sort of the point where that's going to begin happening, but into the last couple of laps, I think we might start seeing attacks from the group in front. But it depends a bit what happens with this gap, which of course they will well know, and of course they can see the gap. They can time it themselves if they want to, because they can see the bunch coming down the opposite side of the road just after that dead turn past the finish.
A lot of work being done at the front by Ashlyn Berry, 18-year-old, hyper-talented young American, and we quite often talk about dads when it comes to riders, but actually Ashlyn's mum, Dee Dee May Berry, was a lot more successful than her husband, Michael Berry. Dee Dee May Berry, of course, runner-up at the Olympic Games in the time trial in 2004. She's been on the podium in all sorts of important races, and now she is a cycling mum alongside Michael Berry, of course. Ashlyn Berry, dad Canadian, mum is American, and he holds the American nationality. Very exciting young talent. Only 1 year on a contract for Ashlyn Berry, comes straight from the juniors. Normally, they normally go for a 2-year contract with a Devo squad, so he might want to keep his options open. This man is really popular. He's really savouring the moment, isn't he, Michael? Crossing the line yet again on his own. He must be a local rider.
I don't know. Is he local? Is he retiring? That's kind of why you ride like this. I don't recognise him. That won't surprise you. But
we've got 3 options on the team, because one of them is wearing a distinctive jersey. So it's either Simon Bach, Gustav Fredrik Dahl, or Kasper Juhl Orenschläger. That's a fantastic name.
None of whom are old enough to be retiring, unless
no,
they feel they're just still not making money. But maybe we'll find out next lap. Maybe we'll get a shot from behind them. 27
seconds, and they have them in sight. Peloton. I think we're just going to wait for the final lap to go for the catch, although...
Yeah, maybe. Well, at the minute, there's nobody coming up to help the riders who've been on the front quite a long time, so I don't see that gap absolutely tumbling down now. So, yeah, maybe the last lap, which would kind of suit everybody perfectly well, I think, apart from the break.
Yep. Neutralise any breaks.
But I think the fact they can see them, actually, some of the impetus maybe starts to go out of the break, because you can sort of see, I think the Swap Club riders very keen to keep it driving. I think 1 or 2 of the others thinking, well, this ain't going to stick. So do we go back to the bunch? Do we throw in an attack? And maybe that's what happens next from the break. We'll start seeing 1 or 2 riders taking a last roll of the dice. Matthias Malmberg, let's say, for example, because he could very usefully be picking up the Competitivity Prize if he could make a bit of a showing as a last stand today.
1K to go on this 3rd of the 5 local laps. No barriers whatsoever. It's just a perfectly well-behaved Danish crowd. Nobody stepping out on the road. Everybody's just behaving perfectly well.
Nobody's got a dog without a lead.
No, true.
Are Danish dogs particularly well behaved?
Great Danes. Or Danish dogs in general?
Well, Danish dogs in general. Great Danes are, well, Scooby-Doo was a Great Dane, and he wasn't particularly well behaved.
It's a name I didn't think would come up today. We got this corner, this left-hander, just before the 300 meter to go sign, or just after the 300 meter to go sign. Lap time around 8.5 minutes, meaning that we are going to finish this bike race in around 16 minutes from now, which is well ahead of the fastest schedule.
Yeah, we're still still well over 50 kilometers an hour average. Probably going to end up around about 51 kilometers an hour for the day, which, considering it's been mainly crosswind rather than tailwind, pretty good going. And Uno X back on the front, which is probably the end of the break.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a chat going on there between Laporte and Tiller. And now Tiller is committing to the chase yet again. Yeah, we've got these 4 SWAT Club riders still up there. 4 riders in that group of around 20. We might have missed 1 or 2 units, but this is the gap. There's 1 motorbike not really helping, so that's good. And this group, yeah, they're still working well together, but we're just waiting for that ultimate attack, aren't we? But 13, almost 14 kilometers to go, still is an awful long time to go on a solo.
Yeah, but it's not the worst circuit to do it on, because it's, you know, quite a lot of corners. It's quite technical. There's an opportunity for someone to take a flyer here. Question to be who it's going to be. Nicholas Larsson, perhaps, kind of the sort of track endurance rider.
Yeah, Söderqvist can do this.
Maybe a bit too early for him. Söderqvist, obviously, yeah, I should have thought of him first. He's exactly the kind of rider who could do this. But it's time. If you want to do it, you need to do it now. This is for crosswind section, so not the worst moment to have a go. Get over to the downwind side of the road and unleash your best 500, 600 and 700 watts.
No, they're almost there.
Nah,
they're almost there right now, and we have final effort being done by those young guys of Visma Lease Bike, with all due respect, of course, towards Laporte and Wout van Aert, but they're on their way with a bunch of young kids. With, again, Ashlyn Berry, national champion of his country. Already a top 10 for Ashlyn Berry when he was on his on the road with the Visma Lease Bike World Tour squad. He had a 10th place in Rundum Köln.
There's another race I've watched in this year that I can't remember which race it was. Might have been Boucle de Mayenne that Ashlyn Berry was in, and did a lot of work there too. He's a talented young rider, but he's also not afraid of getting on the front of the bunch and doing some bike riding.
He will be 19 a month from now, or the 25th of September. Very promising young man.
Sort of an attack here. He's taking a few of them with him.
Mess Lombo is the man in the stripes of Koloquik, with another Mess, and that is Mess Pedersen. Not Mess Pedersen. It's Casper Pedersen. A lot of Pedersens in Denmark.
He's from Copenhagen, or so I'm led to believe.
Pedersen, of course, being one of the most common names in Denmark, as you can imagine.
And one of the most common names in pro cycling.
With that too, yes. But the catch is almost made right now, all the way at the back of the group. They know what time it is, and 11.7 kilometers. Even if you want to try now, it might be slightly too late.
Yeah, but you might as well try it.
Okay, Tamini out.
On land.
Oh, there's somebody crossing the road between the breakaway and the peloton, completely proving my theory wrong.
Yeah, 7 seconds. I suppose it's not that small a gap, still wouldn't do it.
It's great that NSN are helping out at the front of the bunch with Nick Schultz. A little bit of a gap in the bunch. That's because of those corners, Michael, that really string out the entire peloton each and every time. So you need to...
That's exactly what makes chasing on a course like this difficult. That's why the break kind of has a chance, but 6 seconds. Maybe not.
You have to be at the front, have a few riders with you to keep you at that front throughout that last lap, because these corners, they really string out the peloton. This is one of the SWAT Club riders, and there is the first riders of the peloton. It's almost over and out for our really big breakaway that attacked around 100 kilometers out from the line just after we left Køge. but we will get a bit.
Going to say any odds that is Matthias Malmberg going for a last gasp.
Of course it's him. He has to go for that combativity prize.
He does.
Dylan Corkery still there, but most of the riders of our breakaway now being swapped up by the joint forces of Uno-X and Visma.
10 kilometers to go. It's about perfect.
Nicely timed here. We still have one rider up front, 5 riders in pursuit, and the peloton awfully close right now. I think it's Mess Anderson.
It's Mess Anderson, actually, yes, not Matthias Malmberg at all.
But there's another one coming across of the SWAT Club. There you go. With some good bike skills as well. And then Mirko Maestri.
Not SWAT Club. Oh, it is. Okay, slightly different jerseys.
Yeah,
sorry,
one of them is actually one is actually wearing one of those aerodynamics like shoulder thingies, and that just pops underneath the jersey.
That is Matthias Malmberg, unsurprisingly.
That is an interesting combo, 2 of them, but it's not a lot. We're 2 kilometers out from the last time across the finish line.
Against the assembled might of Visma and Uno-X, I will be impressed, but I like being impressed, so come on, boys.
Both of these riders have won a bike race this year, with Matthias Malmberg doing so in the Sibiu Tour, the race in Romania, and Mess Anderson doing so in the Hellas Tour, or the Tour of Greece. And both are pro races, 2.1 races, so for a continental team, that's a big result.
Yep, and he won the Olympias Tour as well, which is a point too, but it's a good race.
It is truly one of the oldest, it is the oldest race here in the Netherlands, and if you look through the history of Olympia's Tour, where Ashlyn Barry, for example, also won a stage, quite a few big name riders racing there.
For a 0.2 race, it punches above its weight. It's we don't count it as a pro win, but it's worth more than some 0.1 pro wins, I would have probably said.
A duo time trial right now with just a lap and a kilometer to go, with Matthias Malmberg
not providing a whole lot of shelter for Mess Anderson behind him.
I think that's the story of his life there, Michael.
Mess Anderson can see exactly where he's going. Puncture for somebody, the Danish squad.
Laporte is Christophe Laporte in that green jersey with the yellow helmet, of course, of Visma Lease Bike, is making sure that Wout van Aert is kept in a good position. A pure bunch sprint, Michael, with Wout van Aert. He's, of course, very good in small groups when we have a few hills, but this is as flat as it comes. High speed, 50k, 55 kilometer an hour bunch sprint. Let's see if he's got the speed against the likes of Teutenberg and Plowright out here.
Yeah, Teutenberg, Plowright, Lucas Kubis. Kubis is probably a little bit more Wout van Aert in some respects. Giovanni Lenardi, who I think was third on the stage the other day. Tom Caraba.
Oscar Valuda.
Aaron Blicker, I haven't seen hide nor hair of him all week.
Well, he's there. He's one of these big guys in green. I couldn't pinpoint which one exactly.
Which big guy in green? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's Uno-X for you. They're all big guys.
You've been a big help.
Yes. Well, they're just not a big help to any of us, because they're all 2 meters tall and they're all big. This man is chasing back after a puncture, which is very courageous to do in the final lap. See if he can still help out with the sprint with Anders Folliger. Casper Pedersen, of course, also a good sprinter. He didn't spend too many matches in that breakaway. It was mostly Gustav Wang doing the work there for the Danish team in that big break of 20. So he hasn't spent all that much energy, Casper Pedersen. But it might be for Anders Folliger up there.
I would have thought Anders Folliger, yeah, would have been my first thought. Enrico Zanincello, also possibility.
Yeah, on his birthday.
Ben Oliver from Modern Adventure Pro Cycling. They've been kind of keeping a fairly low profile today. I don't even immediately see them in the group, but they'll be there.
They even gained a little bit of time there, a little bit of a few seconds on the peloton, our 2 leaders. Yeah, it's Enrico Sanoncello's birthday actually today. He is 29.
Well, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
That's a huge gear that they are pushing there, these two guys up front. And after that corner, yeah, the peloton is getting a little bit closer again. They're not going to make life easy for the peloton, that's for sure, for Mens Andersen and Matthias Malmberg.
They're doing a good job, actually. Powerful duo. And as two teammates, they're not even going to start thinking about the 5.8 Ks. You wouldn't anyway, but there's no point at which they're really going to start thinking about the win until they get there, if it comes to that. But at 6 seconds, I would be surprised. No moto in front of the peloton, so it's a fair
not in
fight.
front of them. Well, far
there's
enough.
This one, but it seems to be a reasonable distance away.
Now we got one counter-attack from one of the Kolo Quick guys, one of the Danish national teams. So there's a few riders in the bunch who want to try and animate this and not just get into the sprinty formations just yet.
I think it's just going to pull the bunch across, to be honest.
Is this man also in contention for our combativity prize? Could that be the reason why he's doing this? He's of course part of the Kolo Quick team, so this might be a last-ditch effort for him to maybe go for that. It is indeed. That might be what's going on here. That combativity prize between Malmberg and Stockbro. Who knows? But it's Thibodeau Grosso helping out with the lead-out. We also have Jonas Geens in that lead-out train for Jensen Plowright. Henry Ulik, maybe. He wasn't involved the other day because he just had a flat. But he could be very useful in that sprint train. And it is indeed Thibodeau Grosso trying to close that final bit of air between our three leaders and the bunch. Yeah, so in the end, the catch was made in the final lap.
I was going to say this is final lap, and this is obviously done because they'll get caught in the sprint at this point, and I think that's it. I think they're backing out of it.
Andersen is spent. Malmberg and Stockbro, they're going to try
last go.
Last go. 4 kilometers to go.
They're tied in 12 points each in the combativity classification, so whichever one of them can hang on probably gets a jersey.
Yeah, maybe a goodie bag or a gift basket. That would be nice. With some local specialties, maybe from the Copenhagen region. Nope. It's
all yours.
Over and out. The last of our breakaway riders to be caught is Matthias Malmberg. A breakaway of 20 that got up the road about 25 kilometers in. They never really got more than 1.5 minutes on the peloton because a breakaway of 20 is pretty dangerous. None of the big team riders had riders up there apart from Söderqvist for Lidl Trek. No Visma Lease Bike as Ashlyn Berry dropped from that break with a flat tire. No UnoX, and it's been those teams who kept the break in check. We are going to prepare for a sprint. Tom Krabbe is reporting for duty of the Flanders Baloise team.
I mean, really cool to see him getting a result, actually, because he hasn't had a great, we were saying earlier, great start to the season, faded a bit. Lovely to see him back with a bang here, if he can pull that off for Flanders Baloise.
Yet again, Wout van Aert is in the blue leaders jersey. Laporte is in the green points jersey, a jersey that he doesn't own, but he has on loan. And also the man who was close to the win on the opening day, Henrik Pedersen. He is the man in the white jersey. This man already knew that he had won the jersey yesterday after the first sprint, thanks to all the points he got on stage 3 on the Queen stage. Axel Scott Hansen has earned himself a trip to the podium for the King of the Hills, or the Hill Sprint competition. There goes Ezra Cowdell, one of the tallest guys out there, probably level with Max Walscheid. He's there with Ben Oliver already.
Seems a bit early, and there's only the two of them up there, so they feel to me like they're in the wind a bit sooner than they need to be. Lukas Kubich is not on Wout van Aert's wheel. That's a first.
Which is news.
He's not far away, but
no, he's trying.
He's ahead of Wout van Aert at the minute, actually, so he's waiting for the wheel to come back past so he can jump onto it.
He tried to get onto the wheel there of Giovanni Lonardi of the Polti Visit Malta team, who's also a pretty decent sprinter in this field where we don't have the Jonathan Milans or the Jasper Philipsens of the world in this group, Tim Melier. to name a few sprinters who are considerably faster. It's Scott McGill on the wheel there of Ezra Cowdell. Let's see if Ben Oliver is there. We have, oh, there's a little bit of braking going on there. There is Chris Juul Jensen together with Rasmus Pedersen, the man with the green helmet, the greenish helmet of the Decathlon team, which is of course his regular team. Now it's all a fight for position. We have Teutenberg trying to get onto the wheel. Plowright is there. The curbstones are a little bit dangerous. The Kopecky brothers are trying to get Kubiš to the front. It's a little bit all over the place right now.
Yeah, it's a messy sprint. It's just you get that kind of late catch, and then some of the sprinters' teams bring up. We see Flanders Baloise have turned up very late. Multi-Visit Malta have turned up late after the catch was made, and there's this kind of reshuffle as everyone tries to get into colour order.
The Flamme Rouge is almost upon us, and for now it's Multi-Visit Malta with Leonardi and also Inuit Rosa Rocket sprinting there for Lukas Kubiš to get to the front. We spot Laporte in that green jersey, Wout van Aert a little bit further back. Laporte, if he gets points, he could actually be third on GC. The win for Wout van Aert looks rather safe right now as we're inside the final 3 kilometers as well. He's not really featuring at the front right now, Wout van Aert, in that blue jersey. He's not going to sprint free, he's too far back. It's going to be up to Christophe Laporte, and Lukas Kubiš has now found the wheel of Christophe Laporte. We find Henrik Pedersen there in green. Leonardi is out there. It looks like Walscheid and also Teutenberg are out there for the Lidl Trek team. And then that final sprint is upon us. Laporte is going to try to go for that win. Whoa, big crash. Oh, that is a really horrible crash going into the barriers now. But Plowright is up there. We have Max Walscheid up there as well, the big man for the Lidl Trek team. Max Walscheid, and all the way on the outside, Rasmus Pedersen. And there comes Tom Krabbe. Krabbe maybe on the outside, Walscheid to the middle. But Rasmus Pedersen celebrates for the Danish national team. Oh, that crash, Michael, the way that Modern Adventure Pro Cycling rider smashed into the barriers. Absolutely sickening to watch. He celebrated. Confused. Let's wait for official confirmation, and then again for official confirmation for Rasmus Pedersen.
For my money, he got a messy sprint, so many messy sprints with that late catch and the crash. For my money, this man, Rasmus Pedersen.
Let's see for the overhead again.
Got it. You see Tom Krabbe coming up on the left-hand side. Pedersen just on the right-hand side of the event. Teutenberg going for it. Sorry, Max Walscheid going for it fairly early on, but I think the Danish national squad rider takes it pretty cleanly. Yes. Yeah,
we don't need a photo finish for that. With a second place for Walscheid and third goes to Tom Krabbe. No bonus seconds for Laporte, meaning that Henrik Pedersen is third, Kubiš is second, and Wout van Aert wins for the second time in his career, 8 years after the first one, the Tour of Denmark.
Didn't manage to get the 4th-stage Wout van Aert. I don't think really he was ever in a big bunch gallop like that. I don't think he was ever really in it. I think they were looking towards Coach Christophe Laporte. You can see in the middle of the screen there. That's Max Walscheid and Tom Krabbe. We can't actually see the man who is busy winning the race yet, Giovanni Leonardi. I think crossed the line probably in 4th.
I also I also think in these kind of sprints, Michael, with the Vuelta on the horizon and already 3 wins, 3 stage wins, and the overall, Wout van Aert doesn't want to take any risks.
No, I think that's right. I think actually on the Queen stage he did quite a long turn in the front of the Queen stage that I think had more to do with staying safe than it had to do with actually, you know, manipulating the bike race. He was just trying to stay at the front on a wet, slippery day, and I think you're right. Same thing again today. Win was safe from 5 kilometers out, so a 5 kilometer rule in place today. And quite an exciting sprint in the end.
I really, really hope that the riders who crashed there on the right-hand side of the road, especially that man from Modern Adventure Pro Cycling, that he's okay. This is our top 10. We don't need confirmation with a photo finish. It was pretty clear. Rasmus Pedersen wins ahead of Walscheid, Krabbe, Leonardi, Sheehan, Plowright, Henrik Pedersen, Niels Eekhoff, Stian Rosenlund and Boas Lusgaard, or Lusgaard probably, in 10th place.
And only 2.5 hours of racing, so they're short and punchy, and done by 3:15 in the afternoon local time. That's the kind of racing that people can really get behind.
There's a big pile up there on the top of your screen, but the contenders for the win were already up there, so they were not really affected by the crash.
Long sprint in the end.
That's a derailleur gone.
Uphill. Yeah.
Tom van der Werf.
Hopefully it's nothing more personal.
Just a derailleur and some skin, hopefully. And this is the final overall. No changes whatsoever. Wout van Aert wins the Tour of Denmark for the second time. Lukas Kubiš in second. Pedersen, Laporte, Coté, Kopecky, Munoz, Kragh Andersen and William Blume-Levy. Basically 10 of the 13 riders who were in that decisive move on Friday. The Queen stage. 3 stage wins for Wout van Aert. A stage win for Uno-X with Storm Ingebrigtsen. And today, Rasmus Pedersen for the Danish national team.
And Lukas Kubiš has another second place to add to the largest collection of second places in professional cycling. Don't know if that's literally true, but it feels like it. He's had 2 second places in stages and second in the general classification this week.
So please stay with us. We'll be here another few minutes since our live coverage of the Tour de France, the live feed, the first images that we have will only be there from 10-15 minutes from now. Sadly, no start-to-line coverage from Switzerland/France today. That's one of the points to improve on. Well, it looks like we are going to a final clip. So on behalf of Michael Hutchinson and myself, José Ben, thanks very much for watching, and please enjoy the Tour de France Femmes and the Tour of Poland from tomorrow. It's been a good week of racing, very exciting, although the courses on first glance, you thought, well, there might be 5 or 4 bunch kicks apart from Friday. The peloton have really treated us to 5 days of great racing, and yet again, on behalf of Michael and myself, thanks very much for watching, and yeah, please stay with us for the fun. Have a great Sunday. Bye-bye.
man sige, det er besværligt, kan man sige, at sige tak. Jeg ved ikke meget tæt parløb, og jeg tror, at det er meget, meget følelsesmæssigt berørt af det her, fordi mange af de mennesker, der står bag det her løb, og mange af de mennesker, som har rejst med rundt fra jeres side, der har jo netop været gået sammen sommer efter sommer i 3 årstier. Så det er også næsten familiære venskaber, der er opstået, og som vi nu er nået til vej scene. Det er en lykkelig slutning, kan man sige. Vi slutter på alle måder på toppen af vores samarbejde, men derfor har jeg stadigvæk alle sammen købt i halsen. Ja, men det ændrer ikke på, at taknemmeligheden er meget større end løbet.
Tak skal I have. Så synes jeg, at vi skal sige tak til PostNord for 30 år. Jeg har aldrig prøvet det her, men jeg har tit drømt om det. Og en heldig modtager, jeg tror godt, I kan regne med, at der kommer flere blomster her inden for de næste 15-20 minutter. Nu tror jeg, vi er meget, meget tæt på at være klar med en kaninceremoni. Mine damer og herrer, vi manglede bare at få vinderne af løbets samlede holdkonkurrence heroppe bag scenen, og det er vi ved at få nu. De første par ryttere er kommet, så vi er klar til at gå i gang med præmieoverrækkelsen om et lille øjeblik.
Jeg kravler lidt.
Kan det overstå, så jeg kan se, at det går
Ja, men ja, okay.
Jeg kan i hvert fald forvente, at jeg ikke skal styre på det. Jeg er uddelegeret det, ikke?
Damer og herrer, så er vi klar til præmieceremonien, og vi skal allerførst have prøvet det samme hinanden. Først skal vi selvfølgelig have Panda op på scenen. Godt, Panda. Det er en Panda med skal også have Panda, og har gjort det godt de seneste 5 dage. Troels Weise, salgsmarketingdirektør i PostNord. Vi skal også have udenrigsminister Lars Løkke Rasmussen op og uddele en statuette. Vi skal også have Morten Bødskov forbi. Og så er der selvfølgelig også en Garmin Varia baglygte overrakt af Morten Bødskov. Og en PostNord statuette overrakt af Troels Weise fra PostNord. Og blomster fra Anna og Panda. Og så får vi flere gaver i dag, Rasmus. I dag er Rasmus Gårdberg Pedersen! Tak skal du have. Rasmus var uheldig at styrte tidligere i løbet og måtte droppe sådan det samlede klassement, men sikke en revanche, han fik gjort her. Nu skal vi i gang med nummer 1, 2 og 3 i det samlede klassement her i årets PostNord Danmark Rundt. Den første, vi skal hilse på, det er løbets nummer 3, og det er fra UnoX Mobility. Tag godt imod Henrik Greiner Pedersen! Lukas Kubis! Og så godt imod etapevinder. Undskyld, selvfølgelig, sikkert noget sludder. Vinderen af PostNord Danmark Rundt 2026. Wout van Aert! Blomster til Wout van Aert fra Morten Andersen. Et trofæ fra udenrigsminister Lars Løkke Rasmussen. Også en kommunegave fra borgmester Britt Jensen. Og så er der selvfølgelig en pandabamse fra Hanna. Mine damer og herrer, Wout van Aert, Lukas Kubis og Henrik Greiner Pedersen. Og vi skal have taget nogle billeder. Det er et flot pose, vi har her i PostNord Danmark Rundt i København. Kubis og Henrik Brænder Pedersen. Jeg kan faktisk allerede love nu, at vi er færdige med at hilse på. Nu kommer til alle med det. Novo Nordisk Driving Change in Diabetes bakketrøje. Og det betyder, at vi også skal hilse på Billy the Bull. Billy er på vej. Billy, du plejer da nok at være klar på scenen. Mere end klar endda. Sådan. Godt, Billy. Damer og herrer, lige så godt, Billy. Stå lidt stille. Hallo! Diabetes bakketrøjen. Og tag nu godt udbrud og animerede det og kørte et flot cykelløb. Fra Italien og Team Visit, holdteam Visit Malta, Mirko Maestri. Så skal vi sørme også have kåret den samlede vinder i fighter-konkurrencen for årets PostNord Danmark Rundt, den 34. udgave af løbet. Og mine damer og herrer, det blev en rytter, som har siddet i udbrud, ikke bare i dag, men også flere andre dage. Tag nu godt imod fra BHS PL Beton Bornholm, Nikolaj Menge! Mine damer og herrer, så mangler vi kun at få uddelt den sidste konkurrence, som vi har fået afgjort, og det er holdkonkurrencen sponsoreret af Lidl. Og nu skal vi lige have HR-direktør Hauke Dane på besøg fra Lidl op til at overrække præmien. Velkommen til. Og mine damer og herrer, tag nu det hollandske bagstrålende hold, som har kørt et meget, meget flot cykelløb. Unibet Rose Rockets! Og her skal vi hilse på Thomas Kopecki og hans lillebror Mathias Kopecki med Niklas Larsen, Martin Rassenberg, Lukas Kubis, Cecil Moritz og Rory Townsend. Rigtig mange i dag. Ja, de skal lige finde ud af, hvordan de skal placere sig på scenen. Og så er der også store champagneflasker. Har I paraplyer med? Ja, nu bliver blomsterne lagt.